Hey, I'm so honored and awed to have a very amazing guest today who is always teaching me a lot, and I know has a lot to share with you. So without further ado, awkwardly awesome episode 35 starts in 3, 2, 1, 1.5, 1.25. You get the idea. Here we go.
Today's guest, Darryl Santell.
Okay, let's start off with a question. No, let's start off with a different question. What do you want to do when you grow up? Do you know yet? And here's the second question. Are you happy with your life? Let me tell you about my guest today, Darryl Santell. At 5 years old, when the majority of kids were still playing with their toys, Darryl learned of and became obsessed with Bruce Lee and martial arts. And he knew that's what he wanted to do to be happy, to be very happy for his entire life. In Darryl's youth, he credits martial arts for giving him an advantage in discipline, strength, and endurance over other teams as he became, check this out, the top amateur bowler in the United States and was invited to the U.S. Olympics. As with Bruce Lee, Darryl became obsessed with becoming a master of learning and has now read a lesson to over 8,000 books. 8,000 books. And has interviewed over 1,000 individuals, including many of the world's big influencers. But also his interviewing has gone beyond the Napoleon Hill blueprint, as we've heard of it, to the wealthiest place on earth, which is the cemeteries, as that's where so many dreams have died. Darryl kept this in mind as he went to hospitals, hospices, nursing homes, and has met and listened to so many veterans, school teachers, police officers, housewives, so many incredible human beings who had big dreams and was so happy to tell Darryl the magnificent stories. Darryl, who is known as the master learner for big money and big happiness entrepreneur, teaches that in different areas of life, if you are not at least 80% happy, many have and will develop depression. Darryl has had to endure, suffer through, and learn to overcome and thrive through such vast, tough experiences as growing up with his grandparents. He also grew up around criminals, including the mafia. He was made fun of and bullied in school, and as an adult went through the tragic loss of his child. Darryl believes it is very important to know how to process situations, how to grow and learn from everything, so he can then one day help someone else in a similar situation. He finds himself always thinking of others. Darryl very much believes in faith, family, and freedom. He is very happily married now for over 20 years. Woohoo! And has 3 incredible children. Such a blessing. His company, Darryl Santell International, has several businesses, including his real estate investing, DJ company, seminar company, consulting, and athletic high-end performance training. From all the above in his over 50 years of martial arts and experience in being a very successful entrepreneur, Darryl has become one of the top speakers, consultants, trainers, and soon to be a top author from his soon to be out book, Master Entrepreneur Principles and Strategies. Please, without further ado, help me give a warm and gracious and happy welcome to Darryl Santell. Darryl Santell, hi.
Yay! Thank you, Jason. It's so incredible to see you, my friend. You're one of my favorite individuals. You are just very inspiring.
It is so great to see you. And so we met years ago at the Habitus conference. And what one of the things that so impresses me about you is you've just, without me even asking, you've just consistently encouraged me from that day forward, over and over again on Facebook. You're encouraging me and bringing out the best of me and challenging me, and it's just so wonderful. It reminds me of the phrase that the most successful people are the most available.
I
And
agree with
you
that.
really you embody that with me. Thanks so much.
I appreciate that, Jason. I can't tell you how many times I've watched your little video that you have, and I joke with you about it, and you're such a good sport about it. But like the part when you're going on there and you're talking about yourself, and you say, I looked around and I saw all the other kids and realized it was me. It's me. And I just think, and then how you took over and how you have taken what many consider a disability and turned it into a thriving success that you are.
Thank you. Speaking of taking over and taking the reins of your life, at 5 years old, I don't know if I could even talk at 5 years old. Now, at 5 years old, tell us more about, like, at five, how did you know? I mean, kids might watch Bruce Lee on TV and be like, oh, cool. Someday maybe I'll do martial arts, but what compelled you to take it up and become obsessed with it at 5 years old?
Okay, let me take up about, I'll try not to take up all our time with this one segment, but
But it's important
sure, no,
for
yes, that's what I was going to say. And I grew up with my grandparents, as you pointed out, and they were just wonderful people. And my grandmother took me to the local library one day, and I soon became the mascot of the library. And, and people, you could hear the people working there, and they would say, "Is he here?" Yes, he's down there. And
Mhm.
they had like two floors, and the bottom floor is like a little basement, and that's where the sports books were, and biographies, and that's where I kind of started, and it kind of led me to the sports, like I said, sports books, and then to the martial arts books, and soon that's where I found Bruce Lee, and I just became obsessed and just couldn't get enough. And I think it could have probably saved my life because growing up with my grandparents, they were great people, but we had a lot of other family members, and other not so good influencers around me. And like I mentioned, there were a lot of criminals. I don't think you should have a helicopter flying over your house. And that's the kind of what I grew up with. And it was just a lot of bad things happening. And I think being an only child, my mother was
Oh, I
around.
didn't realize we share that. I'm an only child too. I didn't
Yes,
realize that.
really. Me and my wife is as well. And I think that kind of is another bond between us. And I think it took me to a different world instead of my own. And it helped me. And I started, because Bruce Lee did so many different things, his main philosophy, which if you'll see on my board, I fixed up my whole room here. Just kind of, I haven't got my other area fixed up yet, but this is what my main philosophy is, like Bruce Lee. Absorb what is useful, discard what is not, add what is uniquely your own. So
Say that one more time.
absorb what is useful,
Mm,
discard what is
mm,
not,
mm,
add what is technically it's essentially your own. So like if you
mm,
read a book, maybe not everything in that book applies to you,
mm.
but like what I do is I take from that book, and it that is what I take, and I write it down. I have more people who, when they want to come to my home, they're more interested in seeing. I have a couple of bookcases full of notebooks, and that is from all the books that I've read, all the interviews, uh,
So,
and
so
that's my strategy
you've
session.
not only read 8,000 books, but you've taken notes on each of the books.
Well, I wouldn't say each of the books, and especially like you mentioned, 5 years old. I mean, I wasn't at that time, but I did it. I think it matured me a lot faster than I would have any other way, and it kept me out of trouble. As I said, my grandparents were so kind. They allowed me in martial art classes.
So,
I
what were your martial art classes like? What was your first martial arts class like?
a lot of in martial arts, a lot of times with the kids, they let them play. It's more play than anything else. That way, they're entertained and they enjoy it. And like they'll let the kids run, and that's what I did. And it makes you. I mean, if they just made you do exercises all day, you're not going to have a lot of retaining your students, especially at that age. But I think I was different than a lot of students because I was so passionate about it. It just, I mean, I started reading, and that's all I could think about. And I would exercise every day constantly. But I had two
Even when you were
little
5,
when I
you
was young.
started exercising.
I was exercising, and my children have been the same. My son, who's in the Navy right now, it was interesting. My daughter was in dance class, and she would lay on her stomach, and she could put her legs over her
Oh,
head and touch her nose. And
oh,
soon, yes, but she was so limber. And my son, my who was a year younger than her, he soon was able to do it as good or better than her.
he,
And that
they both could do it.
they both did. And I trained them in martial arts since they were very little. It was all mainly just fun. We had fun. We kick and play and all that. But as I was saying, I had a kind of a parallel life when I was growing up. Martial arts was like my straight line all the way through my life. But my grandparents bowled, and they would take me to the bowling alley. And very early on, I would end up in the daycare. They had a daycare center there, so I wouldn't be in their hair. But soon enough, I was out there bowling as well. And I like bowling. And I got pretty good at it and everything. My grandparents helped me. The bowler, the owner of the facility, started taking notice of me, and he ended up being a coach to me. He actually sponsored me, which, of course, because I was a kid growing up with my grandparents, we didn't have a whole lot of money. So it benefited me that the owner of the bowling center took notice of me and helped us out. And that was one of my first mentors besides Bruce Lee. And let me point out something right now. Here's a good point. I believe there is ground level mentors, and then there are what I call 50,000 foot mentors. Like, for example,
ground level mentors, and 50,000 foot mentors.
yes, what that means is a lot of times, like myself, I never had a chance to meet Bruce Lee. And all I could learn from him was from books and from other people who ended up knowing him. And I actually got to train with some of his students. But I consider him a 50,000 foot level because it wasn't more directly my.
He helped you transform your life, even though his life had ended.
That's right. And he still inspires people, millions and millions of people today. And
Wow.
yes, he was just
Wow.
far above well ahead of his time. Just incredible individual, just brilliant mind. But the 50,000 foot mentors, and I've had many of them, and the point is right there, Bruce Lee was my 50,000 foot mentor. I was learning as much as I could when he wasn't right here with me. But my ground level mentor, instructor, that was the karate teacher that I went to 3 or 4 times a week, and I learned martial arts from. That is what I call ground level. And yeah, so and it's like let's just say like a person that loves computers. They go to colleges and stuff like that or wherever to learn computers. They might never meet Bill Gates, but Bill Gates might be their 50,000 foot mentor. He's someone that inspires them. He's someone that they still can learn from. And I believe there's a lot of people out there that don't think you can learn that much from books. But I have a total different mindset of that. If you think about it, in college, what do they learn from? They learn from books. And back to my story still of my parallel life. At that point, I started getting really good in bowling. And by the time I was like 13 years old, I was carrying probably about a 180 average, which is pretty good. And I got a mentor. My grandfather let me go to Las Vegas for 3 straight years and in the summers, and I learned from this legend, Don Johnson. That was his name. Not the Miami Vice Don Johnson. Not him. But I learned from him. He was like my first, probably to most 50,000 foot mentor where it intersected, and I actually got to learn from him directly. And from that, it changed my life because then I was carrying like a 240 average on many days a week. And
can I just say my bowling average is about 60 maybe.
Okay. I could work with you for 10 minutes and I could double
that. Cool.
A lot of people don't realize it's the fundamentals of everything. If you just learn the fundamentals, that changes.
Cool. So back to your story.
Yeah, so that's what happened. I got pretty good in bowling, and at that time, bowling was being considered to become an Olympic sport. And I was invited, and I went to the US Olympics headquarters and all that, and met so many awesome people, and they had like ethics, and you had to learn all these protocols and all that. But unfortunately, about 6 months prior to the Olympics, they said, sorry, the heads said no and ruled out bowling. And as I say, it's as I joke around, there went my Wheaties box. I never got on the Wheaties box, but it changed my life for sure. And back on the martial arts part about it, I
Can,
believe
can I ask you something before we get back to Marshall? So at that moment, like you're dealing with the height of your success up to that point, getting to the Olympics, but at the same time, the disappointment of them not allowing bowling. How did you deal with both huge emotions?
it was extremely tough
Oh,
because I dedicated my entire life to that. And unlike today, it's a little different in the world. Like they have the dream team. You've heard of the dream team with Michael Jordan, all them. They got to go to the Olympics, professionals playing. But back then, it was real serious. You could not take money. You had to watch everything you did, or you would become amateur and illegal. You could not. It would ruin your amateur status.
mm,
So I could have at any point started bowling for money. And again, I'm a young kid, and of course, I need money, and I couldn't, on my biggest strength there was, I couldn't do it. So that really was a big disappointment.
So you chose the going to the Olympics over making money as a professional bowler.
Yes, at that time for sure. And that was my whole dream at that point. But
Mm,
martial arts, as I was pointing out, was the key to everything.
mm,
It's my straight line. What I always say, it's like my tree. My tree has a foundation, it's martial arts. And as I go up, I have a lot of a lot of branches that come off of it as I learn, and I believe that's with just about anything. As you grow, you learn more, you build to your foundation, you keep going up and you keep building. And martial arts, there was not a lot of teens who were, at the time I was doing it, probably a second or I was close to a third degree black belt by that point. And not many kids were that way, and I was that, which gave me a big advantage as I had more endurance than them. I was at that time bowling at least 100 games a week, which is very difficult for anyone.
you were
And
doing what with 100 names a week?
I was bowling about probably close to
Oh,
100.
100 games. So
Yes.
you were doing martial arts and bowling at the same time.
Yes, pretty much. I had to cut back. I mean, I was still training martial arts and I was still doing it, but it was kind of taking a back seat to my bowling at that time. But I still was doing martial arts. And because of that, it gave me a big advantage in bowling because it helped me with endurance, it helped me with strength, it helped me with discipline for sure. Um, I was really focused. I had my martial art instructors. They, I mean, I was, it really, really helped in my bowling.
So I can kind of see that how martial arts would carry to another sport, but
Mm-hmm.
how does what you learned into in martial arts help you be successful in say business?
Well, martial arts is very good in so many areas, and that's part of where I'm going to come into talking about my book. My book that I'm trying to eventually finish, and
Which you will eventually finish.
I'm sure hoping so. My good friend, and I think you know him too, Brian K. Wright.
Oh
You know
yeah,
him, don't you? Yes,
of course. Brian's
yes,
a great guy.
great person, good friend, and he's publishing my book for me. If whenever I get it finished, and the title of my book is Master Entrepreneur Principles. In the master part is based on from martial arts,
Hmm.
talking about it's there's so much about martial arts, and it's my book comes from about 50 years. Well, I'm 57 now, well over 50 years now of martial arts study and learning from everybody, and almost that long in business. Since I was very young, I was doing lots of entrepreneurial work. And I think me and you have talked about it before. I was about probably 8, 9 years old. I'm thinking somewhere in there when I first started throwing newspapers.
Hmm.
And my uncle, I joke around, I blame him today that it's your fault that I throw newspapers today. But as a little kid, I would sit there and I would help him roll the newspapers. We'd put them in bags. At that time, it was a little different, and he would throw them all on top of me, and then I would help him throw them out the window. And as I got older, eventually I was old enough to get my own paper route. And from that point, all my life, I've pretty much had a paper route. Not always.
So you threw newspapers this morning?
Yes, I did.
I forgot this.
I do. I throw
So
newspapers.
so tell me more. You're a very successful man. Why is throwing papers important to you?
Newspaper, actually, in what I call it's my isolated bubble. It's I actually had it pointed out over here. Just like, people, if I was at home, for example, I could just be sitting here. I'm going to be distracted. I'm going to get on the computer or I'm going to get on my television. I'm going to have one of my million dogs coming over here. I'm going to have
You like dogs.
We do. And if you can see right here, look at these two right here. Can you see them?
I see one. Oh
See them?
wow.
See my pug and my brown dog. You see them?
See your brown dog. Where's your pug?
Pug is right there. Bella. Look, Bella.
Oh yeah.
You see her?
Yeah.
That's those are my small dogs. We have mastiffs as well. But these are my two babies here that sit with me up here. And I was talking to you about the newspapers.
Yeah, your isolated bubble.
It's my isolated bubble that no distractions. And there's a big difference in no distractions while you have to do something else. For example, I could shut myself off, but I'm going to be forced to. I can still do things. But if I'm driving a car, I can't be sitting on my phone doing this, talking to Jason or doing whatever I want to do, checking email or whatever. I am forced to I put my audio on the radio and I'm listening to my audio from 2 o'clock in the morning till about 7 a.m. And
How many newspapers do you deliver a day?
I throw a good amount, different amounts, different day. And I have my uncle works for me as well. So me and my wife go on a trip or we have other things to do. We have something with the dogs. We have an event with the dogs, or my son who's in the Navy right now. He's in Hawaii. And we're hoping to go see him pretty soon. And my
Yeah,
uncle,
yeah.
yes, yes, and we got a call from him this morning, and we were
Oh,
so blessed because we hadn't talked to him in a few weeks
uh,
because he finally got it. He was out on he's in submarines.
mm,
So we were kind of worried, but I mean,
mm.
but we finally heard from him this morning. We were very happy, and but
Before you go on, tell what your other two children have,
okay,
kids, adults have been up to. It's a big week for your family.
it is actually. My son graduates on the 28th in high school. My daughter is graduating. She's graduating college and she's going to be a school teacher, and she's already been offered a job. We're so proud of her. She's going to
And
be a
you said it's like a dream job, right?
yes, that's what she wanted to do. She's going to teach fourth graders. And
Oh,
that's
that's
what
so cool.
yeah, she is going to be fantastic. We're so proud of her. And my youngest son, like I just said about my older son, he's in the Navy, and my youngest son, he's graduating, and he's still undecided for sure what he wants.
Mm.
I think he's got some ideas, but he's gonna be doing his 2 years of college, and then he's gonna from by that time, I think you'll know as he furthers along and finishes.
Well,
And my wife, let me don't want to leave her out. She's the love of my life, my
mm,
soulmate, and she's a top
mm.
district attorney, and she is just incredible. We've been married just May 10th, our 20th anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. And and I always say, you don't want to get in front of her if you have hurt a child or if you have hurt a dog. You
Mm,
do not want to face my wife in court.
mm,
She will destroy you.
mm.
But as we were saying about me and my wife, did you had a question? Go ahead with your.
Oh, just thank your older son. I mean, I thank your older son for his service, and it gives me goosebumps thinking of all the students your daughter is going to impact.
She is
And, and,
incredible.
and I'm excited to hear what your younger son decides to do.
Yes, and it's really strange that I'm someone I love all sports and everything, but and I never intended this, but my older son, he got into martial arts, and my younger son got into bowling. What's the odds? And I didn't push it on either one. I mean, of course, as I said, when they were younger, I would work with them and we would kid around and a little bit of stuff. But I mean, they could have done anything. And I thought for a while my youngest son was going to play football. Maybe we played. I thought he might be a quarterback or something, but he really loves bowling and he's really good at it. He was a varsity bowler for all 4 of his years in high school. He was really good.
So, so yeah. I mean, listening to you, and you're so successful, but so many people are going through struggles right now, like
Yeah,
intense struggles, and feeling so overwhelmed, and like nothing that they do makes a difference. So what are some things you would tell these people who are hurting?
I've talked to a lot of different people, and this is actually a very good time that you could learn.
Mm,
There's no reason a lot of people can't get books and read. This is a good time if they didn't have nothing else going on. Go to college, and
mm,
And there's a lot of people out there that have this, and a lot of entrepreneurs, strangely. And I have a section that's called misconceptions. And where a lot of gurus, they'll say, well, college, I don't need college. College is not. But yeah, and you know what? Not everyone needs college. They don't. But for those who could use it, there's no reason why not you don't do it. Especially in downtime like this. It was like a perfect time for my son to go in the Navy. I mean, he would have either just been in the Navy or he would have been at home. And my youngest son, he's learning all this stuff. My daughter's finishing college all during this period of time. And it's a great time to learn. And then when the pandemic comes, if it ever, it's getting closer, I think, to the end, we're hoping. And then you can reestablish yourself.
But you're saying use your downtime instead of thinking about all the things you can do. Learn something new. I love it. It's a good time to learn.
Absolutely. Why not? You're not doing anything else. And I'm very into learning from so many sources. And that's another one of those misconceptions. People say, don't watch television, don't watch movies, stop watching sports. I joke with people that I don't know how much money I've made in like real estate because me and the client had a great conversation about having the same favorite sports team. It's a fact. And people like to connect with people they know. And TV show and here another conception. Do you not know who the hardest people in the world who work so hard? People that produce TV shows and movies. You not realize how much they learn to put that out.
It's so challenging. It's challenging to even make a 3-minute thing that looks good, let alone a 2-hour movie. My gosh.
I've watched so many movies and learned so much. You can learn so much, like Glenn Ross. That's where it came out about, ABC, Always Be Closing. That's where that became famous. And you can learn from so many sources. And like my wife, if she ever decides to go on, instead of being a district attorney, she ever decides to go to a defense attorney, or I tell anybody this in any business, look elsewhere. You can have you ever heard of the man? Well, you probably have because you're in Idaho, right?
In Little East in South Dakota.
South Dakota. I'm thinking about Mike Green.
Yeah. Green. And shout out to Mike Green.
Great guy. I love Mike Green. Yes, but there's a guy down here, a famous attorney, and he goes, I'm the Texas Hammer. And I would tell someone, if you lived in New York, for example, why don't you, if you're up there, become I'm the New York Hammer? I was always so notorious, like wherever I went with me and my wife, we would travel, I would look in telephone books or telephone and look for ads. And I would take notes on them. I would take pictures.
You would take notes on the telephone book.
Absolutely, and use it for my own business.
That's awesome. That's wonderful.
And Bill Glazer, I love what he always said. He says that somebody would come up to him, and Dan Kennedy, friends of mine, and they would say, somebody would come up to them at a seminar and they would say, well, where are the real estate people? Where are the financial people at? Where are the anything, whatever field they're in. And he would be thinking to himself, how stupid you are. In his mind, he said, what you should be asking is, where are the smart people? It doesn't matter what field you are. I believe in learning. Of course, I'm in real estate and other businesses, but I believe you should learn from. You can learn from all over the place. I learned so much.
Speaking of learning from all over the place, what are some of the? I know you interviewed so many people, but what are some of the main things you, or the general things you learn from people in hospice and nursing homes? Like what do they want to talk about at the end of their lives?
So many people, and as you were saying, I want to make sure people didn't miss that. Napoleon Hill, we all know he was famous for going around to the 500 wealthiest and most influential people, which and there are other people who also have done that blueprint. But there's another force out there that says the wealthiest place in the world is the cemeteries. That's where so many where people's dreams have died. And I decided to take that mantle and go into that and learn from those people. And as you were asking, I've met veterans, I've met just regular housewives, and they would tell me dreams they had, and they would tell me ideas, inventions, and things that they wanted to do. They would tell me about their favorite books. They would tell me about just so many things, but a lot of it also is they just were so happy that somebody cared about them. And I got so much out of that people, that a lot of times they just forget about them at some point. And it's just, it even touches me today. There's just been so many that say, like, there was this one veteran, he wanted to he had this idea about some kind of a cooking pot that 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 could cook on its own or something, and it would turn itself off, and I mean different things. And that's where I came up with inventions I have, and I got an invention that I think is going to be pretty big at one point. But that's pretty much the end about that. Have you talked to Tucker?
No, I still need to meet Tucker.
Yeah, I thought y'all had talked and everything. Well, I was going to go. I was trying to think. What was that? Okay, we were talking about business and everything, and I'd like to tell a story about how I started my DJ company. And I think
yeah, please.
my DJ company is a good lesson, and this is something that I like to talk to people about. When I first started this is like well back 30 years ago. At one point, there was different types of entertainments in clubs. There was bands, there were karaoke, individual karaoke was becoming big, and then there were DJs, right? I'm trying to remember everything. And I started off in karaoke. And because at that time I was out there and I was listening and I was trying to sing, and I was doing karaoke, and then I ended up working for someone else as a mentor. They mentored me, and I eventually bought them out. There's so many stories here, Jason, along the way here, but the main point about this is I became pretty successful in my karaoke. But I'd go to clubs and someone would say, I don't want to hear that terrible singer over there sing Patsy Cline. So I said, okay, what do you want to hear? And they would tell me things they wanted to hear. And I'd say, okay. And at that time, I started building a side DJ collection. At that time, it was CDs and things like that. So along with my karaoke people, we would have a lineup of people that would sing. And I soon built up people that would come into the club, and I would ask them what they wanted, and I would mix it up. So I was, for at least 5 years, the only person doing this that was playing karaoke. I was playing DJ, and I had a major light show.
So you combine karaoke and DJ into the same
Everything.
night of
That's right.
entertainment. That's
And
brilliant.
that's right. And it was like, let's just say, for example, like for 4 hours back then as karaoke, I might make $300, right? For 4 hours. But when I then combined all that, and of course, a lot more people coming into the clubs, that changed to about $1,000 for those same 4 hours.
Just by combining two things that no one was combining.
That's right. By caring about the customers, finding out what customers wanted. I did that, and there was nobody at that time doing that. And I went from there. And then I started going to other clubs, and I was building, like, I was at one point doing at least 6 nights a week with just one system each place. And then I started learning about delegating. I really started delegating. And then I wasn't carrying the speakers no more. And I would have DJs. I would have 3-4 shows a night for 6 nights a week. And it blew up.
And you were employing people to work at each place.
That's right.
Well, and do the math. That adds up to a lot more than $300 a night.
A lot more than 300. It was like like I said, it was 1,000 or more sometimes for one show. We're talking 6 nights a week times 4. And I mean, I was at one point doing 4 or 5 places each night. Wow. So it really started going. And of course, there's going to come to a point where other people start saying, what's this guy doing? And they start, of course, trying to copy what I do. And then it came to a point, and I always joke around, somebody gets a CD, they think they're a DJ now. And they're not, and they didn't have the quality I did. I had a built-up clientele. And besides, what nobody else was doing, I had like a box that I had every night at all my clubs. Have you ever done karaoke?
Yeah.
And you know what you have to do? You have to sign your name, and you have to put the name of the song, right? So what you do, I keep all those slips. So when the customers come in, they don't have to sit there and rewrite them. And nobody at that point was doing anything like that. So I made more convenience for them.
And it feels more personal if they.
That's right.
They remember when they
and they would follow me everywhere. And I had a really good clientele. And have we got anybody on here yet? Or we're going to have to wait? I asked a lot of people. I don't know.
I mean, it just like the people watch it when they watch it sometimes.
Right.
So there's 2 more things we have to talk about.
I got a lot
Well,
more than that.
I,
No, I'm just joking.
I mean, but we only have an hour. We could talk for hours.
I know.
So like you had the. I'm fascinated by the story because everyone seems to have an opinion on this individual, but you have a personal story of one of your real estate mentors.
Okay.
Would you tell the story without naming this person and then we
Well,
reveal?
I understand your political
I
part about
mean,
it, but
and reveal at the end this person's name. Make it like a grand reveal.
right, right. Well, this famous person. Well, it's almost. I'm going to have to say it because it's the place I'm at. But I mean, it's whether you like former president, whatever former president. I won't say what former
Okay,
president.
you could just say his name, the grand
Okay, I'm
reveal.
just kidding. Donald Trump, yes. Whether you like him or you don't, at the time that I met him, it was on me and my wife's honeymoon, actually. And I had,
Honeymoon.
yes, it was our honeymoon. We went to New York, and I had already been really big into him. And I went to Trump Tower, and as I always do, I just obsess whatever I do. And I knew everybody who worked for him. And when I was there, I saw his head of security, a guy named Matthew Calamari. And I go over there and I talk to him and kind of befriended him. And one thing led to another, and he led me to Donald Trump. And my wife always said she always worried that if I ever met him, he would say, "Get lost, kid. I don't want to get lost," and just make me feel depressed. But he didn't do that. I talked to him in a way that got his attention, and he was very kind to me. And it was nothing about, I mean, we talked a little bit about politics, but the big gist of it, it was almost like an interview, but he was really friendly and open minded. And for 45 minutes, he took me around Trump Tower in New York and showed me all around. He introduced me to his offices, and I met some of his family who works for him,
Mm.
and it was just mind blowing. It's like wow, it's like it's just if when he got off the elevator, I joke with my wife. I say Abraham Lincoln could have got off that elevator, and I probably wouldn't have been as I would have been the same, just
Mm.
shocked, like
Mm.
in just total shock.
Mm.
And because he was so nice to me, and he taught me so many things, and a couple of the things he taught me, and I hadn't got to any of the things like that, but that's fine. He he said mainly about I was in real estate, and if you look at my picture with him that I have a picture with him right here. If you can see it, that's me and him together. If you can see the picture,
Yeah.
right, you've seen it. But anyway, I was working for a real estate agency. I became a realtor, and I asked him about I wanted to be a big investor, which I at that time I was still early on and I hadn't got really into investing a lot yet enough. But he told me if I want to be a commercial real estate investor, number one, if I want to be in real estate like a licensed person, stop selling houses and only sell commercial property.
Mm.
And he said, even more so, if I want to be an investor, stop being a real estate agent, be an investor.
Mm.
He told me about thinking big. Um, he said to care, but not that much. In negotiating, he said, always add sizzle to everything you do. He said, always consider what the other side wants when you're doing negotiation.
I
And
I I like this story because even though everyone has di- different opinions, most people, most of us haven't gotten to interact with the individual one on one.
And about what you were going to do, I'm gonna try to get a little more in. So we in our time. Know our time's getting closer, I guess. But we talked about me and you about that I can get along with everybody. Me and you we have different viewpoints in political, but to me, I care about people. I respect everyone, and I think if more people did that, our country would be a lot better off. I don't. I mean, I'm a strong Christian conservative, but a lot of conservatives forget the one Bible verse that's extremely important. Thou shalt not judge.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
it doesn't matter what you believe. It's not my place to judge you.
Hmm.
There's only one person that's going to judge us at some point. And but I was good about master learner, and we talked about the isolated bubble. Um, we talked about the paper route.
Oh, and imperfect best. What does imperfect
Yes, I
best?
want to. Yes. Thank you,
I
Joseph.
mean, you probably have no use for the concept because you're so
No,
successful.
absolutely, that's not true. I mean, not true at all. And I will point that out here. Your show, and I want to be very respectful, and I wanted to honor your show. Your show is about honoring the challenges as well as the opportunities for us all living our imperfect best lives. And my imperfect best, I've never liked my voice. And like at drive-throughs, they'll say, "Is there anything else you would like, ma'am?" And I can't help it. I don't know if I have a female sounding voice or not, but I've never liked myself on recordings. I've not liked my voice recording. I'm not usually nervous at all, as I pointed out, but I often start, and I've done that here, and I think I haven't done enough podcasts in a while, so I think that's kind of because of this one aspect. I start talking fast, and my wife will tell me this too. So I have to actually think to slow down. And then majority of people don't realize I live with extreme pain in my back and neck and joints from all my years of martial arts.
Because even though you were very successful, you still got hit
You got
all the
pain and stuff.
time.
And I point out, like my mentor Bruce Lee, he had his own shortcomings. He had a short leg. One of his legs was shorter than the other.
You
And
literally had a shortcoming.
yes. And he had bad eyesight. So even the great Bruce Lee had shortcomings. Um,
But so we have shortcomings. What does the best part mean then? What does the so we have imperfections, but what does the best part of that mean?
means that whether we have them or not, we can overcome them. We can always adapt. We can always learn to use our strengths. Too many people care about being, and you pointed out I was balanced, and I am balanced, but I think people need to focus on their strengths more than worry about their weaknesses.
Hmm.
A lot of people, like the thing is Michael Jordan, nobody cares about how he did in math. They only care about him being able to
Hmm.
play basketball.
Hmm.
And in my book, there's a few things that I go over, and it's about being a master learner. Know your battery life. That's something that I wanted to get onto. Every day, there's a point in your day, I'm sure you have it too, that you're more energized than other days.
Hmm.
parts of your day.
Yeah.
Right. And I call that my battery life. And
That's
I tried,
brilliant.
yes, I tried to do everything. That's why from my 2 to 7, I get so much done in my book, my listening to my audios. And usually from about 2 in the afternoon till about 5, I read. So that's where my reading comes in, and I try to fit in a little bit more, and that's why I've been able through all these years to be able to get so much done.
And do you sleep? Do you
I
sleep?
do, and that's where I go to sleep pretty early. Actually, I go to sleep usually between 8 and 9 o'clock
Hmm.
at night, and then I
And
get
wake
up.
up at 2 in the morning.
Right. And I was also talking about, the bubble, isolated bubble. You can also do that if you don't have to throw paper out. You can, when you're working out, you can put headphones in. It's
Hmm.
still, you're doing something that you can't do something else. You can't be distracted. You like when you work out, if you're listening, treadmills, jogging. And another part of what in my book is that's one part of it. Second topic is organization. And
Hmm.
you should, to me, I don't believe we should think about the same topic more than once. Like, for example, about I have to clean the garage today. How many times do you need to say that to yourself? And what I do, I have put together something I call prioritize and calendarize. Means at the beginning of my month, year, or whenever I decide at that point, I put my priorities on the calendar.
And then once they're on the calendar, you don't think
It
about them
is, that's right.
again.
That's right. So when next time you pass the garage, that little voice starts talking to you. Aren't you supposed to be cleaning the garage? No, because I have already taken care of that. Thank you. It is on my calendar.
There's so much energy spent on procrastinating but part of that so often is thinking about the thing over and over again and making up reasons not to do it, but
That's
you
right.
you avoid all that.
Right. And another one of my aspects of that is I have a thing called DAD. DADD. And it's dominate, do anything that just comes up. Do the best of your ability, get it done. Automate, systemize all your regular duties. Systemize everything. Um, Delegate, defer to someone else to give you more freedom. And detonate, eliminate anything that's not worth your time. I believe in living a life of freedom. I delegate everything in my world. If you notice, you can almost get on Facebook and there I am. I
Yeah.
am always available.
Yeah.
I delegate everything. I'm available except for my consultating. I was trying in selling, for example. That's another area in my book I talk about. I believe there is I call it the sales success triangle. There's 3 areas of selling: quality, having good quality or bad quality, price, and service. To me, you need to have at least 2 of those. And you should never compete on price. In my opinion, the bet, and like myself, I believe in charging the highest. And it's like let's just go back to my DJ service company. And I am a premium cost. You get what you pay for from me. I'm the best there is. And it's not about ego. You got to believe in yourself. I was the best DJ ever was when I had 1 CD. And the reason was when I was doing shows, someone would say, "Hey, do you have this song?" I said, "No, I don't, but I'll have it tomorrow." And that's how I thought until it was basically talk the talk until you could walk the walk, basically.
talk the talk until you can walk the walk.
That's right.
Well, this has been great, and I know if we talk for another 5 hours, you would just drop truth nugget after truth after nugget after nugget.
I understand. Well,
but
thank you very much.
but we need to wrap it up. It's been such an honor. Thanks for sharing the wide expanse of your journey is so inspiring. Thanks for your friendship. I appreciate you, Dale. And
Thank you
thanks
very
for
much.
your time and preparing and being on the show.
Thank you.
Oh, last thing, if people want to contact you.
I'm on Facebook, Darryl Santell. You can go to you and just look under your friends, and there I am.
Yeah, okay. Sounds great. Thanks, Dale.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, Dale is so amazing. I mean, gosh, the toughest thing about my guests is like I could talk to them all day and time to go. So have a wonderful Wednesday and come back next Wednesday. Thanks so much for tuning in. Why do I do that? That's not the outro. Oh, and burgers. Okay, bye, people.